Welcome to En Pointe, the mindset podcast for dancers, artists, athletes, and creatives, helping artists get out of their heads so they can get into their creative bag. I'm your host, Latte, aka Latte. What's up, y'all? How are we doing this week? I wanted to talk to you guys about a theme that has been coming up a lot for me lately, especially because I am planting a whole bunch of new seeds in different dance styles. And you guys know I've been working on my foundations. And just towards the end of last year, I just reconstructed my whole dance goals. And I'm just kind of like in a new era of my training, and it's requiring me to have a whole bunch of patience with myself. So the word of the week is patience. And it's funny because I feel like patience has been something that I've worked on my entire life. Like even outside of dancing, I'm just like a much more patient person nowadays than I was when I was younger. I'm patient with my job. I'm patient with my friends, with my family, with other people, just like going through my life. I just have so much more patience than I did in my early 20s. But when it comes to dancing and like putting in work for myself, I'm just so impatient. And it's something that I continuously work on. But I do have some things that I do that really helps me remember to have patience with myself. So this week, I wanted to dive into just that topic a little bit more, just as a reminder to myself and also just hold the conversation for anyone else, because I know that if you clicked on this this week especially, you probably have the same problem I do. And it's not a problem, it's just something we work on. So I feel like the hardest times to have patience is when you're doing new things, especially in dancing, because, I don't know about you guys, but I want to see results like right now, immediately. Like I'll take one popping class and I'm like, all right, why am I not good yet? And it doesn't work like that. You have to find a way to keep yourself motivated, because once your patience goes, my God, everything else goes out the window. Your motivation goes, your consistency goes, and then it's just not looking good, friend. So we have to learn how to have patience. I think that when you don't have a clear end goal in sight, so like if you are a dancer and you're not really sure what you're working towards, and that's me right now. Like I'm not sure if I want to stay like as a teacher. I don't know if I want to perform more. Like I'm just trying to reevaluate what I want to do in the dance industry. But I think if you don't have a clear end goal in sight, like, yes, I am working towards this so I can achieve this, it's just a lot harder to stay patient. And sometimes, your goals and your dreams, they fluctuate or you change them. So there will be periods where you are working, but you're not really sure what you're working towards. And that is when you're going to need like the most patience with yourself. I also think that like we're so used to getting instant results now, whether it's like from social media, like the instant gratification that we get from scrolling. And like, I mean, not to sound like an old head, but like everybody gets trophies nowadays. Like there's so much emphasis on like right now winning, receiving what we want immediately. We're just not very patient as a society. So having to train yourself to be patient, to wait for the bigger payoff, is just definitely a skill that needs to be exercised so you can use it so much more to your advantage. A really big example that I like to use is literally the gym. Like if you go to the gym for one whole week, every single day in a row, sure, you were consistent for that 1 week, but you're not going to have abs by Friday. It just like doesn't work like that. You have to be patient for a way longer period of time. You have to stay focused and you have to be consistent. Now, let's talk about consistency. We've had a podcast about consistency before. So if you're interested in that conversation, scroll on back. We talk all about it. But I want you to understand that your patience and your consistency are directly tied together. If you are so consistent, your patience will pay off. Now, if you are inconsistent, your patience is going to be tested and you're not going to have any end result. In order for your patience to pay off, you have to be consistent with the work that you're putting in. And you also have to understand if you are inconsistent, you're going to have to be more patient with yourself. So if you are like an impatient person when it comes to the work that you put in, like how I am, like how I expect myself to be so good immediately, then I have to understand that I need to be like uber consistent. You need to be very consistent. So then your patience with yourself is not getting tested all the time. When I was first starting my fitness journey, I literally hate that word, but anyways, when I was first starting my fitness journey with my coach, I actually did not have any patience with myself, like literally none. And she would like just tell me to chill out. And I would be like, no, like I need to be like fit already. I'm over this. But when you first start, it's like so easy. You don't really need patience because you're getting in shape so fast, right? But there comes a point in your fitness journey where you plateau. It's just like your metabolism, okay? And I hit that wall, and oh my God, that is when I needed to have the most patience in myself. And I just remember her telling me, this is just part of it. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you just have to stay so consistent and you have to stay so patient with yourself and not give up your patience, because the first thing that's going to go is your patience. And then the second thing that's going to go is your consistency. And if you just stay patient and consistent, you're going to break through that plateau. I think that dancing is the same way. Like, I always tell my clients that there's literally a lag in our training. Like, if you are training so hard one week, you're not going to see results that next week. You're not going to see results for maybe like 3 weeks. I genuinely think that there is like a super lag where you have to train consistent and you might see that result in like 3 or 4 weeks. And that's okay. That's just part of it. But once you understand that your consistency will bring you the results in the end and you're going to see that growth, it's a lot easier to be patient with yourself. But if you haven't exercised that consistency muscle, then you're going to have to exercise that patience muscle. Oh my God, so much more. Now, I want to tell you what's been helping me stay consistent and stay patient with myself right now, because in the beginning, we talked about how it's a lot easier to stay patient when you have an end goal in sight, when you're able to look at the end goal and say, this is what I'm working towards. This is why I have to stay patient. This is why I have to stay consistent. I feel like you have a lot more patience with yourself. But if you're like me, where I'm at right now, and just kind of a transition period, it's harder to stay patient, right? Because we don't really know what the end goal looks like. So what's been helping me is I'm just trying to stay more open to seeing what I might see on the other side. Meaning I'm just looking at myself as a big ass sponge right now. And the more consistent and the more patient I stay, the more things and the more lessons and the more opportunities I can absorb. Instead of telling myself, if I stay patient and consistent, that in 3 months I'm going to achieve X, Y, and Z, I'm telling myself that if I stay patient and consistent, in 3 months, I'm going to have access to so many more things that I can create for myself. Basically, staying as open as possible, because I will be in a completely different state than I am right now, but only if I stay patient and I stay consistent. I want you to also understand that growth is not linear. It can happen in all different directions. So maybe, physically, you're not seeing much growth in your dancing, but maybe mentally you're seeing so much more growth in your dancing, or maybe you're meeting new people that are going to open doors for you in the future. Or maybe you're thinking of new creative aspects of your dancing or your creating. We actually had an episode about how there's so many more ways to be a better dancer than just dancing. And I think that's another way to remember to have patience with yourself, because just because you didn't, hit so many classes this week doesn't mean you didn't grow if you had to give yourself some rest. Those kind of things are ways of exercising patience that you need to understand. Another thing that has really just overall helped me in my dance journey is just enjoying the actual journey. And I know that sounds so corny. Everyone's always like, enjoy the journey, but it's seriously true. It's not all about the end result. And it's so crazy because, we all work towards these big end goals, whether it's a big performance or a big audition, a big show, a big competition. And we work for months and months and months. And then the big day comes and the energy is so high, and then it's over just like that. And then the next day, I don't know about you, but I get kind of like mentally down afterwards. I'm like a little bit sad. So you have to understand that those goals, you're going to achieve them. But then what? You know what I mean? You're going to set out new goals as well. So if you are stressing yourself out, not having patience along the way, you're going to just be chasing highs. That's really what you're chasing instead of just sitting in the comfort of what's happening in the present. I remember in college, and I got so stuck in this big cycle of doing that, where every semester we would have our big dance shows, and I was like obsessed, right? We would dance for like hours a day, like 8 hours a day was my entire life. And then literally like the day after the show happened, I would be like, okay, so now what? And then I would just try to get ready for the next semester. And that's just kind of how we lived for a little bit. But looking back, if I would have had just stayed so much more open and patient with myself along the way, I could have enjoyed the process so much more. I could have been so much happier when I was facing all these grueling dance days, seriously. So that's kind of how I have to look at things right now. When I'm in the thick of it and I'm feeling like so challenged and I'm feeling like I just want to give up and I don't want to have patience in myself, I just have to sit in it and understand that like this is the joyful part. The whole process is the joyful part. I don't need to worry about trying to get to the end result so quickly because this is the part that I'm supposed to be enjoying. And then it doesn't have to be so much of a I need to have patience thing. It's just more of a I'm more present thing. You will always be on some sort of journey, and you will always be working towards something. You have to understand that the process is what you want to focus on more. And I just noticed like things just start to pop up so much more when I'm really focused on the journey and I'm having patience and I'm just cruising along rather than trying to push through to get to the end. When you're pushing through, just trying to get through the end and not being patient and open, you have tunnel vision. So you're not really a sponge to anything that can really bring you value, really bring you knowledge, or really bring you joy. Staying present and just being receptive and open in all directions is just much more sustainable than chasing these big highs. Now, because I'm enjoying the journey just so much more, I'm also able to just release myself from the stress of having a timeline. I always like to put myself on time constraints. Like that's like a thing for me. But when I release myself from that and I just have patience with myself and just focus on the now, I'm able to let things flow so much easier instead of forcing myself through to the end. I also just have so much more freedom in how I'm training because I'm looking at things more of like experiences and lessons rather than trying to accomplish something, trying to check things off. I also think it's true. Like, what do they say? Like, time flies when you're having fun. It sounds like a little bit corny, but, I just look up and I'm like, oh, dang, it's already been a month and I've been, focusing on this specific style, or it's already been so many sessions of doing this or so many sessions of doing that, or I've already have a collection of this because, whatever. But you might surprise yourself. You might get to your end just so much quicker than you realize if you are just focused on actually enjoying the moments. And listen, like having patience isn't always just like, okay, let me have patience. And like, that's it. There's going to be days where you're literally like, I'm going to give up. And like 50% of the time, I think that's me. Like that's all of us. Okay. And it's normal. You need to understand that it's normal. But just because you feel like it does not mean that you should. Becoming impatient is not a good reason to give up. In fact, I want to remind you that patience is important because the overall reward that you are aiming for is just so much greater than the short-term relief of you giving up. In fact, that relief that you might get temporarily from giving up is gonna sting a lot more in the long run when you look back and you're like, damn, if I was just a little bit more patient with myself, my growth and my journey would have come to fruition. And I have those aha moments. I seriously do. Like, I think I talked about last like September, August, I was feeling a little bit down because things weren't happening for me as fast as I wanted them to, and different styles. And now looking back, I'm like, dang, if I was just like a little bit more patient and had a little bit more hope, then I would have been open and receptive to things in different directions of dancing. So you have to understand that sometimes we do get tunnel vision and we do want to just, complete our goals. But if we're just open and receptive and patient, we're going to receive payoff in different areas that we're not even focused on. You just want to think about patience as a muscle you have to build. The more patience that you have now, the more patience you will have in the future. It's something that needs to be practiced. And I think it also takes a level of humility to sit in where you are right now and just accept it. A lot of times we sit in that and we're like uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We don't want to sit in being bad at a certain style, or not, on the dance team yet, or not picked for the leading role, or whatever it may be. But maybe we just need to be patient right now and understand that's where we're at, and just be humble with where we're at right now. That's totally fine. Being humble and understanding that we're not there yet has nothing to do with who we are as dancers and as performers. Just means that there's work to be done. And I think we need to separate ourselves from that concept. I do understand that it's a hard concept sometimes, but I want to leave you guys with something that really helps me just sit in my patience and be humble and be consistent and just enjoy every step of my journey. And it's this: when you are just being patient and becoming less focused on the end result, the real sauce, the real gold nugget is the person that you have to become in order to get there. There's so many lessons that are going to come into your life. There's so many people that are going to come into your life. There's just going to be so many opportunities that are going to come your way on the journey. And if you're patient, you're going to receive them so much more. But you have to stay present, you have to stay hopeful, and you have to stay open. And that's the kind of dancer you want to be. That's the kind of performer you want to be. You want to be incredibly well-rounded, and you want to be incredibly grounded. So I hope this little conversation helps us. I want you guys to know that, you're not alone. I'm right there with you in the thick of it. We're in the trenches together every single day, but it's okay to be in the trenches. That's what life's all about. And if you are just patient with yourself and understand that we're in the trenches right now, it's all good, then you're going to enjoy the trenches so much more. And then when you're not, you're going to enjoy that space so much more. And you might even miss the trenches. You might be like, I kind of miss the grittiness that I had when I was roughing it, when I was toughing it. It's kind of funny. Don't they say that builds character, right? So exactly, it builds character. But honestly, you're not alone. Have a little bit of patience. If you feel like giving up, that's not a good excuse to give up. You already know what I'm going to say. Just pretend I'm right there saying it to you. And we've got this. I highly recommend, if you are struggling though with the patience concept, go back and listen to my episode on consistency, because that's really what you have to have in order to have patience. It's like I said, if you have a ton of patience but no consistency, it's for no reason, right? Of course your patience is gonna be tested, but if you are consistent beyond belief, baby, it's coming. Good things are coming your way. Stay open and receptive to the things that are currently around you. Stay humble, stay open. So I hope you guys liked this episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, leave me a little rate there. I always appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later.